Hi, my name is Patience Kunonga, and I'm a research assistant in the Population Health Sciences Institute, working within the Evidence Synthesis Group and the Older People and Frailty Policy Research Unit. I'm going to present my proposed PhD entitled The Use of Framework-Based Synthesis to Underpin the Consideration of Equity and Inequality in Evidence Synthesis, Addressing Health and Social Care Policy Questions. So my project is going to be supervised by Professors Dawn Craig and Barbara Hanratty, both from Newcastle University, and Professor Pete Bauer from University of Manchester. So to begin with, I'm just going to give you a definition of health equity. Braveman and Gruskin define health equity as the absence of systemic disparities in health or inequalities between groups of people or communities, for example, older people or ethnic minorities and the homeless. And the World Health Organization describes such inequalities as avoidable and unfair differences. So for example, think of differences in morbidity based on age, older people versus younger people, or differences in mortality rates between people from different social classes. So attempts have been made through framework developed to identify and measure both health equity and health inequality to implement priority settings for the fair distribution of resources to reduce inequalities between patients in accessing these resources. So in recent years, there has been a growing recognition that health equity and health inequality should be a consideration in all aspects of research. However, our understanding of how socioeconomic inequalities in health and health equity should be considered within evidence synthesis is not well developed. So for my PhD, I will adopt a framework-based synthesis methodology to address this gap in our knowledge. To do this, I will use a 5-stage process to review existing relevant frameworks to develop a bespoke approach for evidence synthesis and apply it to a range of different evidence synthesis and evaluate its performance. So I'm going to start with a critical review, followed by a mapping review, then a framework development, which will be followed up by the framework application. And finally, I will do a critical reflection. So firstly, I will conduct a systematic search in electronic databases literature to find out what research has already been done and identify existing health inequality and inequity frameworks. Then I will summarize and analyze the previous research and theories, identify areas of controversy and contested claims, and highlight any gaps that may exist in the research to date. Then I will conduct a thematic analysis where I will map existing frameworks to identify the similarities and differences between these frameworks and identify research gaps within the evidence synthesis. Following this, I will convene a group of experts in evidence synthesis, equity, and inequality in health and social care to advise on my approach to develop a best fit framework for a health inequality and inequity framework. When I've developed a framework, I will apply it to 3 or 4 evidence synthesis that will be conducted in the day-to-day work of the Department of Health and Social Care Research Unit for older people and frailty, and maybe other PRUs. And here I will examine the extent to which health inequalities or inequities are considered over a range of topics specific to older adults in health and social care. Once I've applied these frameworks, each will form a case study. Then finally, I will explore the differences between the existing frameworks and the new framework, with a critical reflection and evaluation of how well the framework performed and how its use changed the course of the reviews and the policy implications. So these proposed papers will provide an in-depth understanding of how inequalities in health and inequities in health should be considered within evidence synthesis. And they will provide a bespoke framework for the incorporation of assessment of inequities within evidence synthesis, and also an assessment of how well the framework performs when applied to real policy and policy relevant reviews. And hopefully this will fill a gap in academic knowledge. So at this point, I just want to say I greatly appreciate this academic opportunity, and I look forward to developing and trialing my new framework in both evidence synthesis group and the policy research units. Thank you for listening.